Good afternoon from Commute.org and Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, or SVBC. With you today is myself, Kim Comstock, as well as Mary Thomas Meyer from Commute.org. We also have our partners and speakers from SVBC that Mary will introduce in just a moment. Thank you to those that are returning from one of our previous webinars, and welcome to our new attendees. If you missed any of our previous webinars with topics on bike safety, finding the right bike fit for you or bike for you, and bike commuting, all of those recordings are available on Commute.org's website to check out. The month of May is Bike Month, and with our current shelter in place, it's a great time to give biking a try. Our goal at Commute.org is to help residents and commuters find alternatives to driving alone that are less stressful, less costly, and better for the environment. We hope our session today will help you with tips for biking as a family and also help you inspire future bicycle commuters. SVBC is a valuable organization for both San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. We would like to encourage all of you to become members. To help with that, Commute.org is raffling off individual memberships to attendees of the webinars. Last week's winners were Calvin and Megan. And after today's webinar, we'll also pick a few more winners. We will let you know if your name gets picked. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mary to introduce our speakers today.
Thank you, Kim. This is the 4th out of 5 webinars taking place each Wednesday. You can find registration for the final webinar next week on either Commute.org or SVBC's website. Today's topic, as you can see, is how to bike safely with adults and kids of any age. First, before I hand it over to the presenters today, I have a few reminders for the attendees. The webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you as well as posted on our website. If you have questions during the presentation, please direct them to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll have a few minutes for the questions. And now I'll quickly introduce our presenters from SVBC. Tim Wee is a league cycling instructor who loves to teach people how to ride and how to ride better. He bicycled with his wife and 2 boys in utero as babies, as kids, and up through graduate school. Allison Greenlee is a lifelong bike commuter and recreational cyclist. Prior to joining SVBC in 2017, she worked in higher education, outdoor and environment organizations, and as a bike mechanic. Her program's role at SVBC allows her to share her biking experiences to educate and enthuse the masses. We also have a special guest joining us today. Katie DeLu is a Bay Area native who lives in South San Francisco and loves to ride bikes. Her bikes have taken many forms over the years. These days, it's an everyday hauler of kids, backpacks, groceries, and soccer balls, the station wagon of bikes. Katie sits on the SVBC Board of Directors. And now I'll hand it over to Tim to kick off today's presentation.
Thanks, Mary. I need to unmute myself. There we go. So welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here to learn about how to bike safely with adults and kids of any age. Pictured on the screen are some cyclists I encountered just yesterday, or just a couple days ago, that were out biking as a family. It's awesome seeing so many people biking right now. Okay. There we go. So Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, we are a nonprofit member-based organization supporting bicycling in Silicon Valley. We really hope you'll join our organization. People power is important for us. The more people we have that are part of our organization, the more impact we can have in improving bicycle conditions in our area. Our mission is to create a healthy community, environment, and economy through bicycling. Right now, our economy is taking a hit, and we hope that people will bicycle to save money and to become healthier, and also to reduce traffic congestion, which is really important. Now, bicycling is also great for diversity, equity, and inclusion because it is a great leveler. Everyone can bike. It's very inexpensive, and we really enjoy seeing all sorts of people out there biking. We have a very active advocacy program which focuses on talking to cities and counties in our area to improve infrastructure. And also we run programs such as this webinar for education and social rides also. Social rides are a specialty of Allison, who's also on this presentation. We'll be handling Q&A at the end. So first off, who's in the Zoom? And if we want to know what ages are your cyclists in this poll? Prenatal, 0 to 1, or on up. So go ahead and answer this poll and we'll see who we have or who we have interested in cycling with us. Do 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 do. Okay, are we ready for the answers? Okay, no prenatal people in utero people. Got a few 1 to 5, a whole bunch of 6 to 10. Now that's a prime age for getting out on a bike. A few 11 to 18, a lot of 19 to 60, and a few 60 plus. Awesome. Well, we really look forward to sharing what we have with you. Okay, it just takes me a second to get this going again. Okay, so first off, kudos to San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. I was putting this presentation together and it was taking me a little bit longer and I stumbled on their excellent their mini guide that they've got. And I ended up just deciding to use that as my presentation because they've got some really, really great pictures. So I'm gonna walk you through their mini guide. They also have a very complete family biking guide at sfbike.org/family. It's very detailed. They put a lot of effort into that, a lot of research, and it is a huge resource. We'll have Q&A at the end of this presentation with Allison Greenlee moderating the Q&A. So here we go. Let's go for a ride. And this is again, San Francisco Bicycle Coalition's mini guide I'm walking you through and adding to. So here's a great family out on, looks like a bicycle overpass. They've got all their helmets and they've got their reflective gear and they are having a great time. You see a variety of bicycling items in this picture, which we'll be going through in more detail. So we're going to cover biking while pregnant, biking with babies, biking with your child aboard, choosing your family bike, fitting your child's helmet, teaching your child to bike, a little bit about bike to school, and also about resources. So while you're pregnant, yes, you can bike while you're pregnant. My wife biked while she was pregnant, and there are a lot of women out there that continue to bike and stay healthy and get exercise. When you are pregnant, it's really important to have a really stable upright bike because you're not as comfortable crouching over and the narrow seats can be a little harder. Do talk to your doctor before going on a bike ride. Everyone's situation is different. My wife did bike for quite a while until just before she gave birth. One thing that's really important when you're pregnant or a woman in general, whoops. Oh yeah, let me go back. Okay, so here are some bikes that you can use when you're pregnant. A step-through frame is easier to get on versus throwing your leg over a frame. That's about $100 to $600. Panniers to carry stuff that you need when you're pregnant. Baskets for food, because pregnant ladies are feeding 2 people. They need to carry a lot of stuff. And a double kickstand makes it easier to support your bike. The standard kickstand is a bike's a little more tippy. If you carry more stuff in your bike, a double kickstand really helps stabilize your bike much more and is much easier to use. Also, as a pregnant person, having a wide seat can be really important. This is a women's Brooks saddle. It's leather. It is wider for the wider hip bone, so it gives you good support when you're biking and you're pregnant. And my wife actually likes this seat all the time versus her narrower seats. Okay, now when you've had a kid and your kid is really young, from 0 to 12 months, okay, this is a challenging time to ride with a child because the law requires a helmet on kids. However, a kid until they're about a year old, it's really tough to put a helmet on a kid. Their necks are not very strong. Do talk to your pediatrician about when you can start biking. Now there is an option that I did use where the law, it says you have to have a helmet, but when you're in a trailer or in one of these family bikes, I used a body helmet basically. I used my car seat from my bike, or from my car rather. And so just as this car seat's positioned here, I used the whole car as a body helmet for the whole little kid that I was biking with. And I started biking with my kids shortly after they were born. You see this little cushion around their head to make sure their head stays stable. That's important. So I used one of those inside of this car seat as well. Also, I happen to use a trailer, which we'll see later, but you can use one of these cargo bikes that you're seeing here with 2 people in it. It's very important not to do aggressive biking when you have a very young kid. You want to take it really easy. But in a cargo bike or in a trailer, it's about as bumpy as it is with a normal baby carriage going across a sidewalk and bumps. So you just want to take it easy, take it slow, but you can bike with your kid, although strictly speaking, it's not quite legal, but our law is sometimes catching up to what we do in practice. And when I was going in Europe, I was seeing lots of people biking with kids, again, of all ages. So at a really young age, I strongly recommend either a cargo bike or a trailer. Now, as your child gets a little stronger and can actually support a helmet, they do sell a few helmets that are for kids they say they're from 0 to 1 years old or 0 to 3 years old. But talk to your pediatrician about when they can really support one of these little tiny helmets in their heads. Having your kid in front of you, like this man on the right, where his child is up on top with him so he can talk to his child, is a great social way to have your kid really close to you. Now, if they are on a bike like this, absolutely must have a helmet. There's no way I would ever have a kid up here. If you're in a cargo bike or in a trailer, like trailers are very, very stable and they typically do not turn over. A cargo bikes also are very stable. But when you're up this high and a tippy bike, having a helmet is really important. And of course, you are super cautious when you are maneuvering on your bike with your kid, because kids are precious. But you can have a kid up here, as in the illustration on the right. So again, trailers, I love trailers. I have a lot of different trailers. And we had actually 2 Burley trailers when both of our kids were young. My wife would pull one trailer, I would pull another trailer. They're about $70 to $700, depending which trailer you buy. There are the cargo bikes, like the Dutch Bakfiets bikes. Those are $1,500 to $4,500. Can be more if you get an electrified bike. And then there are a couple of variations on front seats so that your kid is right there in front of you as you bike. These do make your bike tippier, so you need to practice using them. I'm not as much of a fan about this, but it is really nice having your kids like right there where you can see them and talk to them and enjoy the scenery with them. It puts them up higher so they can see more. When they're back in a trailer, they're not seeing as much and not enjoying the view, but when they're up front with you, they can see everything and smell everything that you're smelling. There is a weight limit for these front seats. About 35 pounds is the maximum for them. Trailers can typically hold about 100 pounds. So some trailers fit 2 kids. Between the car seat, well, if you have a car seat, it's kind of 1 kid for a trailer. But if they're out of car seats and they're strong enough to sit up on their own, then you can often fit 2 in many of these trailers. And these front buckets on the cargo bikes, I've seen people bike with a whole family. This is actually a smaller one, would make you fit 2 kids. But I have seen some cargo bikes in Holland with a mom and 3 kids with the dad pedaling around. Those are typically tricycle versions. So 0 to 12 months, that's the kind of gear you need. Now, when you get up to 1 to 3 years, again, the front seat limit is 35 pounds. Now it's very easy to put them up front. Their head is stronger. And I've already talked about actually having 2 people in a trailer, but here's some other options with people. Here you've got a seat in the back behind this person and a seat in front. So he's carrying 2 little people with him. So this is even more challenging because your bike gets heavier on the top, but that is doable. And I've seen kids do that as well. One great thing about a trailer is you can carry the baby bag, just pop it in back behind the kids. So you have the diaper bag with you. Or you go grocery shopping and have groceries in the back as well. Many of these larger trailers can hold about 2 grocery bags behind where a kid was sitting. So we have the multiple seat options, one in front, one in back. There are some long tail cargo bikes that end up having 2 seats in back. So they can ride tandem. There's a few variations. And of course, you've got the 2-seat trailer as well. Some other tips, you can put a windshield up for your kid in case the wind is a little too hard for them, although typically we're not going that fast, but still that's kind of a nice thing. Also, they can have a little bucket here or a little thing they can put snacks on or toys. You can have these little rests on your handlebars so they can actually put their head down and rest rather than having the head bobble to the side. Do remember to bring snacks and layers and sunscreen. Think about when you're biking. The kids do enjoy it when it's pleasant weather versus biking in the rain. Actually, kids, they enjoy getting wet. So they may enjoy it actually more than you. I know my kids, they love running out in the rain. So that's an option too. But think about it's slippier when it's raining, and it's a lot of fun when it's sunny out. So here's the front windshield, runs $40 to $100. Sleep rolls to help keep your head up in a trailer, $40 to $50. You can have some decorations for them. And then these nap pads that you can mount in front of one of these trailers runs $30 to $70. When your child gets older, having them on a cargo bike or on a trailer bike are great options. So here on the left, we see a long tail cargo bike with two kids mounted behind, riding the horse behind the mom. This is fun. It keeps the kids really close to you, so it's easy to talk to all of them. You can bring them to school this way and then drop them off, and then you can go home. You can go to a park. Having the U-bike allows the kids to go a lot further. When they're able to pedal some for you, so they can provide some of their own locomotion, you can switch them over to a trailer bike or a tag-along. There's several different models. It attaches to the seat post up here, and then they can pedal forward. In this configuration, you basically turn a standard bike into an on-the-fly tandem-like bike. However, unlike a tandem, when you're pedaling, they can actually coast because they've got a completely independent gear system back here. I use this setup on the right with both my kids. They both pedaled behind me when they were out of the trailer. Here is an example, and actually I did this too. I was recently doing, we were doing seedling deliveries this past weekend, and one father and his young son came by with a trailer bike, and they were pulling a trailer behind that. And I would actually do this with 3 kids. I'd have my older kid riding up here and the younger kid back here in the trailer. In this case, they were using a trailer for bringing seedlings or cargo places. So this is a triple train, trailer train setup, where you've got the trailer bike and then the trailer being pulled by the trailer bike. And so 2 people helping pull it forward. So the so let's see. Here's a trailer bike, $150 to $300. A variation on this trailer bike is the tow bar, which clamps to a front of a bike, lifts its front wheel up, and basically converts it into a trailer bike by using a standard kids bike. I have to admit, I have not used these tow bars, but they are a little less expensive. It's $50 to $80 for the tow bar versus a trailer bike, again, $150 to $300. And we had one of these, and then we sold it to some other parents after ours was done. A tandem bike is a great option. You can either put have the tandem person in the front with you, or a standard tandem. You can pop them in the back. These are more expensive. These are $200 to $2,000. And then the mid to long tail cargo bike, which you saw earlier with 2 kids. This is a really popular option because they've got little handbars here to hold on to and areas to carry cargo, as well as put the footrests down. And these can haul 2 kids that are quite hefty behind someone. And many of these also are electric. They're electric options. It's about $2,000 to $4,500, $2,000 to $4,500 for one of those bikes. Okay, when you are choosing your family bike, and here we see a long tail cargo bike as well as this front basket bike here, do borrow from friends or try taking from test rides. They behave somewhat differently than a regular bike. Adding accessories to your bike is generally much more economical than borrowing a cargo bike. As you notice, the cargo bikes or the Dutch style bikes, they're very specialized and they're somewhat more expensive. Also, they're not practical to carry in a car versus the bike trailers and the trailer bikes that attach to a regular bike. You can separate those, and so you can take those on a car someplace. So bigger investment to do a cargo family bike, but I have to admit, having the kids up in front, it's really nice to be able to talk to them. Talking to kids in a trailer is a challenge. You've got to crank your neck around and they're lower and they're somewhat far behind you. Having them up front in front of you is really nice. And we'll probably hear from Katie because I believe that's how she's handled her kids when she bikes later in the Q&A. Okay, so a bucket bike, $1,500 to $4,500. Accessories on your bike, like you notice someone's carrying some scooters in this bike as well as having seats in the back. $40 to $500 to add things to your bike. A mid-tail cargo bike that can carry one kid is $1,000 to $2,500. The long-tail one, which can carry two kids, is $1,500 to $3,500. I was mentioning earlier, electric assist for bikes can really help when you're hauling a heavy load like a bunch of kids. Basically turns you into a super mom or super dad because you can just, with a little effort, you can pedal and then the bike itself just magnifies your efforts. It's really fun to ride an electric bike, carry more weight, go longer distance, climb those hills with ease. So it's fun. And at the Q&A, Alice will probably chime in on the joys of electric bike because she has one and she really enjoys it. You can convert an existing bike with an electric motor with a conversion kit. Or you can buy bikes that are built with motors built into them, like the Urban Arrow and the Yuba Spicy. Yuba and Extra Cycle actually are two companies in the Bay Area that sell electric bikes. Wearing a helmet is very, very important for kids, and it is the law for kids until they're 18, they're required to have a helmet, whether they're riding their own bike, they're in a child seat, or a trailer. It's very important to adjust the helmet so it's snug on the head, and we'll be going through a little bit more on this in the next slide. And let your child choose their own helmet and let them decorate their helmet. You want to make it very attractive to them so they'll pop it on and feel proud of wearing their helmet. I do see a lot of kids putting their helmet on their handlebars and just popping it on when they're around teachers, around parents. It's very important for kids to wear their helmet all the time. Kids' heads are very prone to getting concussion and we want to keep them safe. Taking a tumble, especially as a kid, is pretty easy. Kids are kind of rough and tumble. They just bounce around. You don't want to have them hitting their head on a curb or the road. So wear it right. There's this two-finger test. When you put the helmet on level on top of your head, there should be no more than 2 fingers between the top of your eyebrows and the helmet. You don't want the helmet tipped back. So just use the 2 fingers in the front to measure how tall it is. And then on the side, put 2 fingers as a Y underneath your ear. The strap on the helmet, the bottom of the Y should just be below the earlobe. And finally, I usually use 2 fingers with 1 finger, but 1 finger, 2 fingers under the strap beneath the helmet. It should be tight so you can just fit 1 or 2 fingers underneath these helmet strap, but no more, to make sure that your helmet strap is tight enough to make sure the helmet stays on you when you fall. Okay. Teaching your child to bike. It's really important to have the right equipment. Training wheels are a no-no. I see, don't buy a bike with training wheels or take the training wheels off right away. The best way to learn how to ride a bike is to start with a balance bike, which you see here on the right here. It has no pedals. And if you get a small bike that fits your child, just take the pedals off and that will turn that bike into a balance bike. Learning how to balance on the bike is the most challenging part for learning how to ride. So if you just keep the seat low so their kids' feet can touch the ground, and they'll just push along sort of like a scooter-like thing, and they'll just get used to just gliding with a bike and pushing along with their feet. Then when they get really confident and they can glide a long way, then you can add the pedals back, and then they can find out they can push themselves forward just by pedaling the bike instead. You can keep the bike in just balance bike mode or without pedals for a year or 2 before you actually add the pedals back. Now, when I teach kids how to ride bikes that are, these kids I'm teaching are typically 4 to 7 years old, I can typically teach a kid how to ride a bike in that age range in about an hour. It's actually quite quick, as long as you start without pedals. But if you're on your own, you don't actually have to think about teaching them. They'll just learn totally on their own without any instruction. They just push along and they get the hang of it. Then you add the pedals back and then off they go and they zoom away. So keep your kids' seat low so they get their feet on the ground, they can feel stable and comfortable, and they'll have a great time. And by the way, if you have any questions, do put the questions in the Q&A pod, and we'll get back to those at the end of this presentation. And if something pops up that I need to answer right away, Allison is monitoring the Q&A in the chat, and she'll chime in if necessary. Okay, so again, balance first, push, roll, run and glide, and get them to have fun, get used to the bicycle. As they get better, they'll be able to push off with their feet and then see how far they can glide. You can do it as a contest, going down just a really gentle hill. Whoops. Sorry, let me go back. I skipped forward a little too quickly. Something else is that you can do is teach them how to do a power start, where they, once they get the pedals on, they cock the pedal so that one pedal is a little higher, and they can push off in that pedal, and it'll get them started once they get pedals back on their bike. Now, when they're biking, you can have them bike to school so they get there under their own power. Biking extends their range so that rather than having to walk, they can bike there and have fun with their friends. It is important to practice your route to school with them so they feel comfortable doing it and that they get used to biking on road with cars. So start biking on sidewalks with them, but soon go for car-free streets. It is actually safer for kids to learn how to bike on the street rather than sidewalks. The reason is sidewalks are bumpier, and also a kid can end up moving quite fast on a sidewalk. And cars that are coming out of driveways or going around roads, don't expect someone on a bike to be jumping out quickly on a sidewalk across a road. Do teach your kids all the rules of the road. You basically teach them to be like mini drivers, and this is great driver education well in advance. And then you can test your routes to get to school, and they can get practice every day. In Europe, I saw a lot of schools that actually had practice roads on their playground painted out. So kids could they actually had formal classes in school to teach people how to bike. I'd like to see more schools in our country do those formal training classes actually as part of school. So again, do join a bicycle coalition because we're trying to encourage schools and governments to do more bike training in schools. There are safe routes programs in San Francisco and down here in Silicon Valley. That's one of the major programs that the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition runs, is we do safe routes to school programs in schools where we do bike rodeos. You get to meet other biking families at your school. There's annual bike and roll and walk and roll weeks in the spring and in the fall. And we're building a new habit here. Rather than getting in the habit of driving to school, we want to get people in the habit of biking to school and biking to work. It's much healthier for them. It saves a lot of money, and it is fun. It's just a blast being out there. Palo Alto in our area is an awesome role model of a community doing a great job getting lots of kids out there biking along with their parents. There are a lot of resources in this guide which you can download from the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. You've got all these detailed guides, and they're more detailed family biking guide. And there's a lot of camps and organizations, shops. I'm not going to go through these in detail that offer classes and bike camps. And to get those, oh, and here's a thank you page. I'm going to flip past that. To get to a lot of those resources, go to bikesiliconvalley.org/resources. And we've got a lot of links to family biking resources up there, and for the classes and the shops in the area and other online resources. Okay, and now we're in Q&A. So Allison, I'll let you take it away, and I hope we get a lot of great questions because Katie is an awesome, she's a motherload mom. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the Motherload film about mothers who bike with all of their kids, but it is awesome. Okay, Allison, take it away.
Awesome, thanks, Tim. Thus far, there's one question in the queue, and this is from an anonymous person. All right, anonymous, here's your question. For SVBC, I always want to join a social ride, but I'm afraid that it will be too advanced for me. What level do you need to be to do a social ride? Thank you, and thanks for your interest in our social ride programs. Honestly, I designed them in hopes that we're getting a lot of new folks. They're really tailored to accommodate people who are new to biking and want to learn rules of the road and learn from more seasoned riders. So I've recruited over 20 ride leaders who several volunteer their time and ride with us. And their role there is to really be supportive. So we have folks in the front, in the middle, and in the back. And it's an opportunity to build camaraderie and relationships. Our average distance, I would say, is probably 8 to 10 miles with 3 or so stops on relatively flat terrain. And I know that that can sound like a pretty daunting distance if you're new to biking. But what I'll say is that we're going slow. We're going at a casual pace and nobody's ever left behind. So if you're feeling like you're not able to keep up, that's what those leaders are for, and they're there to support you. I do hope to plan additional rides with even shorter mileage in hopes of targeting more families with younger kids. But hopefully those will be down the road when we're able to be together again. So for you, I would say, please join us and shoot me any questions if you're feeling like this is something that you're a little intimidated by, because I really want it to feel welcoming to every skill level. All right, Tina asks, do you recommend biking with your toddler in tandem, in front/behind you, or side by side? Looks like Tim is raising his hand to answer this one.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Oh, it says Tim is going to answer. Okay. Yes, Tim, I'm putting you on the spot. Or Katie. We haven't heard Katie yet.
Katie, go ahead, Katie.
Okay, I can take a stab at it. I don't know what like bike coach kind of expert would say, but in my experience, when my kids right now are 8 and 6, so the 6-year-old is flying on her bike pretty great. When she was a toddler and was more on kind of a scoot balance bike, we stayed off kind of the busier streets at that point and just were on our street or on a trail. And if there was space, we did it side by side just because it was easier to talk and help her get through some hard spots and keep coasting. But if it got narrower, I would put her in front of me so I could go at her pace and watch what she was doing and be able to still talk at her, even if I couldn't hear what she was saying all the time. But it helped, so she knew she had to stop or slow down when things were coming, and it made that a little easier.
So yeah, I'll back up Katie on that. When I'm cycling alone with my kids, I like having them in front of me so I can talk to them and see what they're doing better than having them follow me. Now, when my wife and I both bike, then I would lead and she would follow, or we'd switch it with the kids sandwiched between us. So one of us could see what the kids were doing and the other one could model what we wanted the kids to do if we're biking as 2 parents together with kids.
Yeah. I like to think about the ducks and having the mommy duck and the daddy duck and all the little ducklings in a line between them. It works for us.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe this is a follow-up question to the social rides. Can children join the social rides? Absolutely. Our only request is that, well, Tim already referenced that we don't encourage little ones to begin riding with training wheels, but if that is how you're teaching your child to ride, bikes with training wheels probably would be way too slow and not good for the social rides. So that is kind of our only threshold to say no bikes with training wheels. But you know, the tag-alongs and the trailers, and yes, please bring the kids. The social rides are really geared for bringing community together. So we're stopping at bakeries and treat stops and other places and have time to get water and catch our breath and just really be together, while also visiting other nonprofits and other cool community-based organizations. So yes, please bring them however they come along. So yeah, thank you.
And if we get enough interest, maybe we could start up some family rides. I used to run a family ride program through the Almana Cycle Terrain Club, where we'd bike around. It would be a park ride, so we'd have 2 park stops, so the kids could play. We bike from park to park, and it'd be different parks every time. So not a lot of demand yet for that, but we could change that around and start some of those up.
Yeah, I would love to see, and those of you who are listening, I would love to see more family support in terms of how can we connect people with other families who are doing it and go on, again, once we're able to be together, but how can we build biking buddies in terms of families and getting people out there to learn and support one another. So anything else to add, Katie or Tim, to that?
No.
I would
Okay.
love to be involved in family group rides. If we're all allowed to do that again. One challenge for us to think about in terms of that is just where people are coming from and the difficulty in larger biking setups being portable. So those of us who ride cargo bikes, it's not always easy to get to the start of a ride. So something to just plan for as we start thinking about how to do that.
Yeah, if we do those, we can scatter them around the valley so people can just do the one local to them.
Exactly. That'd be awesome. I'll
I
lead
like
one in
it.
South City.
I like it. Okay, Cecily has a question. Oh, this is fun. Can you talk about some stories from your experiences as parents? And what are some obstacles, surprises, joyful moments? Share those experiences.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. I think a couple obstacles that maybe were also surprises at the time they happened is, well, one was just not knowing where to start. Like I knew I wanted to get my kids on a bike in some capacity when they were babies, and like the research, this was a while ago now, the research was just a little overwhelming, but things like what we're doing right now helped me at that moment too. So learning a little bit more about how to do it and getting a test ride in, as we talked about, was helping me overcome that obstacle. But once we decided on the bike, one very tangible surprise / obstacle in the moment was figuring out how to balance all of the stuff on the bike with me. And I rode the bike around, did a million test rides by myself, but once the kids and the seats and the stuff were all on it, it was a completely different experience, and a lot of like shaking and recovering and feeling scared to go too fast because what if I couldn't stop, but going too slow made it really hard to balance. So it took a little while to get going, and a couple loops around a grassy area where I could drop the bike and not hurt my kids too badly. That was good. And then, I mean, way more joyful moments and happy moments than obstacles in my experience. I mean, I think those of us who are on this webinar probably already have a great passion for getting on a bike, and being able to share that with kids is like a totally new experience. And being in a car, you don't get to stop and look at stuff the way that you do on a bike. And when you have kids on the bike, you're going usually slower than you would be if it was just you on your bike. So you really start to observe things and the flowers and what's going on in these people's front yard. And let's stop here and just look at it and talk about it. And trails or roads or wherever we are, there's always more to see and share together. And it makes it just really, really fun. Every time I'm so excited to get on my bike. With my kids or without them. I just love being on it, but with my kids is even more fun because we just get to experience that. And yeah, the joy of kids being happy on a bike and setting that like sort of bike culture in them from now into the future is joyful for me every day.
Yes, it was very joyful for me too. It also taught them independence because they could, when they're biking on their own, they figure out how to do things on their own, how to go places on their own. Actually, to address a comment that I saw also in the chat, we did do bike tours with our kids, starting when they were in middle school. We actually did 3 European tours at a time in a row, or 4 actually European tours in a row. When doing that with the kids was amazing. They just had a blast seeing this other country, biking in it and on their own steam, under their own power. Yeah, so biking with them on bike tours is a great experience with kids, and getting the independence. Now, I have to admit, my 2 sons, maybe I'm a little too serious about biking because, you know, I just wanted to bike all the time. I think they got a little burned out after a while. But now my oldest son, now they're both been through graduate school. My oldest son says now he wants to get a bike for himself. He lives in Finland now. And given the COVID-19 and public transit challenges, he wants to just bike instead of going on public transit. He has always been a big walker, but now he's getting back into biking, which is great.
So, and I'll just add, from my perspective, I am not a parent. I do have a 90-pound lab shepherd who's actually here with me at work today. So when she was young, she's 11 now. But when she was young, I got tired of putting her in the car everywhere we went. So I found a trailer on Craigslist, a $50 kids trailer. I took the seats out and I padded it and decked it out for my dog. And so she's been riding in that since she was a puppy. And the way that we trained her was I hooked it up to my bike, and my wife pushed the bike down the street, and I walked alongside Eleanor in her trailer giving her turkey. So I was associating that awesome trailer experience with a reward, and it's been great. And Tim referenced my e-bike. One of the reasons why I bought an e-bike was because I live out in Los Gatos where it's a little hillier, and it started to become a massive challenge for me to pull her 90-pound frame with the trailer and all that. So I hooked it up to it. I got an e-bike and away we go, and it's been awesome. I hope that I hope that we put some smiles on people's faces as we're cruising down the street. And it's just been great. So I don't have children in the human form, but my dog certainly loves her trailer. Sometimes she'll go and sit in it in anticipation that she's going to go somewhere.
That's
And,
awesome.
yeah, Alice, you're absolutely a mom, because our pets are our kids. Like, we have 3 dogs as well, and we take our dogs in the trailers. Now, our dogs are littler, so just popping in the trailer, they wouldn't object as much as a big dog would be to, being pulled around. So they pop in, they jump around, but it doesn't really matter. One note about trailers are they're really stable. So if you want the thing that affects your bike handling the least, a trailer, you almost don't, except for the extra drag, it doesn't really destabilize your bike at all compared to the other options. The next step up would be a cargo bike. They're very, very, very stable. And you can get a tricycle version on the front Dutch cargo bikes also, which are completely stable. They can't tip over. You can stop and they'll stay upright, which is pretty awesome when you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, do you have just a 2-wheel cargo bike, or do you have a 3-wheeler?
No, I have a 2-wheel long tail extra cycle. And it's evolved over the years. I got it in 2015 when we were living in Seattle, and there just happened to be a family-oriented bike shop right up the road from us that opened up. And so that helped us figure out how to get that bike and what to do with it. But we started with there was a picture in the presentation of the long tail with the 2 bike seats, and my kids were 8 months and 3 years when we got that set up, and they sat in the seats for a long time, and then one was too big for the seat and just got too heavy with the heavy seat also. So we took a seat off and put on a pad, and then moved from that to both seats off and 1 pad, and now they sit on the back and hold on to the bar. It's called a hoopty on an extra cycle, but the handlebar thing that goes around. And they just sit there and love it. But yeah, we had a trailer at first, and definitely it was more stable. The long tail takes a little bit of getting used to. And I remember once when I was pulling the trailer, I hit a bump in the sidewalk, and I didn't even realize that I'd hit anything. I just kept going, and my husband was behind me and told me that the trailer tipped up, but because I just kept going, it flattened back out and kept riding right along with me. So no harm done.
Yeah. Something about trailers, I've just, while we're on that topic, we have a comment. Trailers can attach to just about any bike, but the hitch attachment may vary depending on the type of bike. So you can go to a bike shop and check that. Also, for renting cargo bikes, you can usually trial out a cargo bike at most bike stores that sell them. So you can try it out. Or you might be able to work out a rental arrangement. I haven't actually rented a cargo bike per se. Katie, do you know if they have rentals in the area?
I don't know. I imagine you can somewhere, probably in the city, but I haven't done that in the Bay Area.
And then one thing I'll note, a lot of the prices that were listed in the presentation, were pretty daunting for some of this equipment. But there's a lot of great nonprofit bike shops throughout Silicon Valley. There's a couple here in San Jose and Palo Alto. And so definitely check out places to get used equipment, especially if you're buying from a bike shop like that, because they will be checked over for safety and making sure that they're sound and in a good condition for you. So hopefully those prices don't feel too daunting, where you can get some really quality stuff, because obviously kids will outgrow this stuff. And hopefully those things are being passed on to people that can use them. But so please, check all those resources as well.
That's a great point, Allison. There's very high resale value in all of this kid stuff. You can resell your kids' bikes. You can resell. We sold our trailer bike and our trailers. Man, trailers last forever. We still have our one trailer we kept, and now it's a cargo trailer versus a kid trailer. What's a cargo and dog trailer is our original kid trailer that we used. So the kid trailer you can keep using for a lifetime. The Burley trailers are extremely lightweight and very well built, and they will last a very long time. So we've had that trailer 30 years now. So, yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to add on the topic of cost. I agree, cost is a huge issue, especially for the bigger e-assist bikes and cargo bikes, long tails. And one resource in the Bay Area for purchasing or asking around for used bikes is a Facebook group called the Bay Area Cargo Bike Collective. And I would recommend, if anyone's considering options, it's a great sort of crowdsourcing of information too, to get a sense of what's out there. But there's people selling family bike components or entire setups on there pretty regularly.
Nice. We have 2 questions in the queue, and I'm going to take the more recent one first because it's related to what we're what we're just talking about. You mentioned Motherload, Tim. I think you referenced that documentary. Question is, are there any other good movies, books, blogs, podcasts about family biking? And Katie, I think you just referenced a couple resources, but I'll let you 2 take that.
Yes, and the one I mentioned, Bay Area Cargo Bike Collective, is a good one. And there is a podcast by a mom in Portland, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. Is there a way that we can follow up?
We'll send a follow-up email, so we could send links to that once we find it.
Yeah.
As far as movies, the Motherload movie is the best one I know of. And there have been virtual screenings of that. Maybe we should set up a virtual screening as a little project for us, because I haven't actually seen I've seen trailers from the movie, and I've talked to people who've seen the movie. I haven't actually seen the whole movie myself yet.
I love that idea.
Anything else come to mind, books or blogs or podcasts? We'll definitely follow up with these resources in the email.
Well, of course, the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, they've got a great family page that we point to from our resources page, and their family guide. They did a lot of research, and they wrote up a really good and detailed bike family guide with lots of information about how to take your bike, or how to take your family biking.
We actually had a comment from one of our participants who mentioned Momentum magazine. Does a great job. Their online resource used to be a magazine, but I know that I've referenced their articles in various places. So this person is just referencing that it has a lot of great family articles and cargo bike reviews, etc. So check out Momentum magazine. Thank you, Moria.
And I have one more to throw in. Another Facebook group that I joined when I got a cargo bike is called Cargo Bike Republic. It's an international Facebook group, so there's thousands of members. It's not good for purchasing things since it's huge, but as a way to kind of ask questions about different components or things that you're thinking about as you get your setup going and what's worked for different people. Again, crowdsourcing information. It's been really helpful.
Nice. All right, so another question from Alexis. I assume these rides will resume once the COVID situation improves, and I think that you're referencing the social rides. Yes, absolutely, and I cannot wait. I'm missing our people desperately. I love my wife, but I love to ride with other people who are learning to ride and want to share that passion. So we're definitely going to be resuming. Of course, the date is to be determined, as we all know, but please share your thoughts with me in terms of what the content could look like, what some cool places to stop are. I'd love to hear from you. what you think could make a really good ride. We're branching out right when this all started back in mid-March when we first went to shelter in place. I was gearing up for a ride down in Gilroy, which I was super pumped about, and connecting with a bunch of organizations down in Gilroy. So we're really trying to branch these out so that we can hit all areas of not only Santa Clara County, but hopefully into San Mateo as well. All right. Any other questions out there?
Maybe we should go through the chat pod. I think I saw some sneaking around there. Like I see one, my son is 8 and I want to teach him more bike skills to help him on the road to avoid accidents or to move quickly to avoid cars if needed. Tips for this age? Well, again, there's a family biking guide from San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. And also there are places that offer courses, Wheel Kids and some others, and there are bike rodeos as well. The Wheel Kids courses are actually pretty thorough because they'll do an in-person class, they will do practice riding in a parking lot, and then they will do a real road ride with the kids, and every kid rides with their parent. So it's a parent-child pair, so that both parents and kids get the same information from bicycle instructor. And that's like a 3 to 4 hour course. Cupertino's offering a series, Palo Alto's offering a series, Los Gatos has some, and Menlo Park also has them as well. And San Francisco, they do them in San Francisco as well. So Wheel Kids is one great organization that offers it through various cities.
Yeah, my son is also 8. And I don't know that I have specific tips, but we were just getting ready to do a bike rodeo at the school my kids go to when schools closed and shelter in place started, which was really unfortunate because I was looking forward to my kid learning bike skills from someone other than his parents, because I think that is definitely a challenge. And as homeschooling we're all experiencing right now, learning from your parents isn't always the greatest thing. So we give them tips, and I mean, both of the kids, we give them tips and we do what we can, but I think just giving, like, leading by example and showing we're at a stop sign, we stop, and we, just kind of that coaching along the way is the best thing that we're doing. And then just, as we talked about earlier, if it's just me, having the kids in front, so at least I can keep an eye and talk to them and coach them through it. If there's two parents or 2 adults, then one in front and one in back, so they can follow the example of the one in front while also hearing what's going on. Hopefully the 2 adults are aligned and not sending mixed messages.
Now, one other note about Wheel Kids, they're actually believe they'll start up their program again starting in the end of June, because they're coming up with a protocol that they can keep everyone more than 6 feet apart. So every pair of people, they're all separate. They're going to do the classroom online, like with a webinar. They're going to do the parking lot with everyone set up in their own zone in the parking lot, so everyone's separate doing their drills. And then for the road ride, they'll space people apart a very long distance so that you can see someone riding in front, giving a good example, and then people be following like 12 feet apart between people riding. So we hope that those classes will start again in Menlo Park, Palo Alto, and Cupertino, at least starting sometime in June, even with the social distancing in place.
Cool. There's also camps, and I mean, we don't have any in South City, but I know they have them in the city, and I'm sure, I would think Palo Alto, San Jose, some other areas would have bike camps. Not sure if they'll exist this summer, but hopefully someday.
Yeah. The camps are a little harder because they're a larger set of kids. These middle school bicycle skill classes are a little easier, I think, to run because there are fewer people and fewer moving parts. They can do them as an outdoor business.
That makes sense.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions out there, so I'm gonna wrap this up. I want to acknowledge that tomorrow was the original date for the Bike to Work Day 2020. So normally all the staff at SVBC are running around, getting everything ready and gearing up for the big day tomorrow. And man, it just feels so different. This is a very different feeling May for us. And what I want to mention about that is on Bike to Work Day is our biggest membership support. So we're in the middle of a membership drive right now in anticipation that we don't want to see our numbers dip. We really need your support. We need those voices behind us when we go to advocate for safer streets and we go into meetings and we talk to elected officials saying, hey, we've got all these people behind us and we really want to make biking better for everybody in Silicon Valley. So if you're able, please support us. Please become a member. And I'm going to let Tim just mention a couple words about what we are doing this month. And then we're really looking forward to the new date for Bike to Work Day, which is in September. So.
Yeah, so the new Bike to Work Day, September 24th. But tomorrow we have Bike to Wherever Day, another BTWD. So just wherever you happen to be, just go out in your neighborhood and get biking out there. And check out our Bike to Wherever Day plans, as well as our May Power series. We'll include that in an email to you also. We've got a May Power Bike Challenge series where we're having people in each week do something different on their bikes. The first week, which have already been passed, was last week, was Flower Power Week, where you took pictures of flowers while you're biking and posted them. This week is People Power Week, which comes back to getting more members. Take pictures of people biking and having fun, and so people can socialize that with the hashtag PeoplePowerSVBC. Next week is Pedal Power Week, and the final week in May is Wheel Power Week. So with Pedal Power, take a picture of your pedal with something interesting in the background. So it's a more challenging picture to take. And then Wheel Power, take a picture of something through your bicycle wheel of what you're seeing as you ride. And on Bike to Wherever Day, just take a picture of wherever you are and post that on social media and get more people biking. So thanks very much, Allison, for that cue.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we are still in shelter in place. And so if you're not doing these activities solo, please remember to do them with members in your household and keep a safe distance from others when you're out there riding. So certainly not encouraging group rides at this time. Please go out and be safe, but have fun, and we look forward to your participation. On that note, unless there's anything else from our panelists, I'm going to turn it over to Mary for our closing words.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
all right.
I hope, well, if it's People Power Week, people should get bonus points if they feature families out biking that they see in their pictures. Thank you, Katie, Tim, and Allison for your presentation, and thank you all for joining us today. We hope you can tune in next week for our final webinar on how to haul almost anything by bike. When you leave, you'll have a survey that pops up in your browser. Please fill it out so we can get your feedback. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, and stay healthy and safe. We'll see you for our final webinar next week.